Great Depression was an economic disaster that affected every single American. It was a disaster that resulted in deep change in American economics, politics, and mainstream culture. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected during the Great Depression because he represented change. Change in the previous policy of non-involvement by the federal government. He called for a New Deal for Americans, and he spent his first 100 days in office implementing those changes. When he entered office, 25% of Americans were out of work. He responded to the challenge of unemployment by creating the Civilian Conservation Corps. He said, quote, "First, we are giving opportunity of employment to 250,000 of the unemployed, especially the young men who have dependents, to go into the forestry and flood prevention work. This is a big task because it means feeding, clothing, and caring for nearly twice as many men as we have in the regular army itself. In creating this Civilian Conservation Corps, we are killing two birds with one stone. We are clearly enhancing the value of our natural resources, and second, we are relieving an appreciable amount of actual distress." The first group of enrollees entered their Corps war camp only 37 days after FDR was sworn into office. Young men aged 18 to 25 and a certain number of destitute war veterans of any age enrolled for 6 months, with the option of enrolling for another 6 months, up to 2 years. There was little penalty for leaving early, and the desertion rate was only 1 to 2% per month. The slogan of the Civilian Conservation Corps was, "We can take it. Building strong bodies is a major Corps objective." More than half of the enrollees who entered the Corps in the last year were 17 years of age. Work, calisthenics, marching drill, good food, and medical care feature the Corps health program. The Corps was a work and relief program that sent mostly young, unemployed men to work on conservation projects in rural areas for about $1 per day. Other projects of the Corps included installation of telephone and power lines, construction of logging and fire roads, fence construction, tree planting, beekeeping, archaeological excavation, and furniture manufacture. The Corps also provided the first truly organized wildlife fire suppression crews and planted an estimated 5 billion trees for government agencies such as the United States Forest Service. Corps enrollees worked 40 hours a week and were paid $30 a month, roughly equivalent to $425 today, with the requirement that $25 of that be sent home to family. Members lived in camps, wore uniforms, and lived under quasi-military discipline. Quote, "This is a training station, and we're going to leave morally and physically fit to lick old man depression," boasted the newsletter of a North Carolina camp. Eventually, over 4,000 camps were established in all 48 states and the Hawaii and Alaska territories, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. The first camp was at George Washington National Forest in Virginia. The CCC was open to unemployed black workers. They were paid the same as their white counterparts, but had segregated housing considered to be of equal quality. The Corps operated on Native American reservations as well, but their work camps were only for Native Americans. 82% of Americans polled in 1936 considered the Corps a success. Americans today still enjoy the fruits of the CCC's labor. Throughout the nation's parks and monuments, we see the dams, forest visitor centers, bridges, and other structures that the Corps built during the worst depression the nation has seen. The Corps lost its importance with the beginning of the Second World War because most of the young men that qualified for the CCC were prime targets for the wartime draft. Though the Corps was never disbanded, the Congress cut funding in 1942, thus eliminating the program.